Hello, I'm Jeffrey K. Mondello, editor of the Boston Catholic Journal. And today is September 26th, the feast of the Holy North American Martyrs, Saint Isaac Jogues and Saint René Goupil. Today, I would like to talk about what I will call Catholicism's imminent passing from memory. The despotic and now openly heretical reign of Pope Francis will soon end. He was ever a grievous wound in the side of the Church, and like all healthy bodies, the body of Christ, which is the Church, developed a hard and ugly response to it. In all wounds, the body protects itself by separating the healthy tissue from further injury by means of a scab, something that is neither the skin that was broken nor the vital tissue beneath it. Structurally, it is different from both. Whatever else it is indicative of a trauma to the body. In our case, the Church. To carry the analogy a bit further, as a scab that has been pulled off a wound, leaving it painful and bleeding once again, but beginning now to heal, only when the ill-starred papacy of Francis has been peeled away from the unblemished body will the process of healing begin that is so desperately needed in a deeply infected body. However, it is almost equally certain that the return to a state of health in the Church will be painfully long. It is harrowing to realize that the Church will not soon recover from the terrible damage inflicted upon it by Francis. The foreign pathogens and deadly toxins that he inserted deeply into the body will not go away at once, or indeed any time soon. His death is not, despite our dearest wishes, likely to result in warring factions between cardinals and bishops in a stark theological divide, separating traditional from progressive prelates. From those faithful to a Church forged in a crucible of 2,000 years of suffering and sanctity, prior to Vatican II, and those who would cast that crown of thorns and glory into the cesspool of modern man, eager to make a new ecumenical God to accommodate their new religion. Would that this were so. Would that there were clear battle lines drawn between two clearly distinguishable and mutually irreconcilable camps. But it will not be. Why? Because in his 11-year tenure and counting, Francis has, to use a political term, packed the episcopacy with his own hand-picked men of the same radically liberal, progressive, and often heretical mindset as Francis. And it is these men who will elect Francis's successor from among themselves. Yes, that is alarming. To give you some perspective, in 11 years, Francis has appointed 142 cardinals and 407 bishops. That is more than twice the number of bishops in only 11 years, as John Paul II appointed during his entire papacy of 27 years, and 2/3 as many cardinals in only 1/3 the span of time, and nearly 3 times the number of bishops in 11 years as Benedict XVI, with almost 1.5 times more cardinals than Benedict in 8 years. Numbers like these are virtually ensure that Francis's successor will keep his warped vision of a horizontal church alive, a church more deeply invested in not God-made man, that is to say, Jesus Christ, but man-made God, the creature, not the creator. An ecclesial forum, as it were, structured around diversity, equity, inclusion, climate, indigeneity, social justice, environment, aboriginal cultures, Mother Earth, in a word, the world as we presently know it. The Church, however, will eventually recover from the papacy of Francis, and yes, likely his successors. But in all likelihood, it will not be within our lifetime, nor perhaps in the lifetime of our children. Apart, of course, from divine intervention, the possibility of which we must not discount, especially in this mad, surreal, and apocalyptic world. But we must recognize that so very much, remains to be undone. So much more remains to be recovered. And it seems all too likely that Francis's successor may expand the destructive initiatives that he has already implemented. Indeed, he may well exceed them. All this points to a protracted recovery, or within the increasing realm of probability, accelerated through not an act, but a recognition of de facto schism on the part of Francis and friends. Sobering as it is, we must come to terms with a reality most likely confronting us in the very near future. The Catholic Church, as history had known it for 2,000 years, as it had been lived for 2 millennia by saints, scholars, sinners, and the simplest of faith, may soon be recognizable no more. As a distinct entity apart from the world, it may effectively cease to be. That is a staggering statement, and except for Francis, almost impossible to imagine. Yet so deeply have things evil leached into the highest echelons of the Church, infecting every organ of the body itself, that it is almost equally impossible to imagine its continuance, except for those who steadfastly held and still hold to the one true Holy Catholic faith, whose source and summit was and remains and will always be the Latin Mass of the ages, bearing all insults and scorn, all the mockery and derision heaped upon them by the world, and yes, even by the Church, which, with the world, went the way of the innovators, beginning with John the 23rd. Except for them, persecuted, reviled, disowned, because they would not bend with the prevailing wind or break under interdict or the threat of excommunication. The true faith in a mere generation. So virulent was and is this evil within the bosom of the Vatican II Church. The true faith in a mere generation would have been extinguished. Say it is not true. Memory of the 2,000-year pre-conciliar Church would have been academic at best. And now it is the 11th hour. God gives us the grace to return to our true mother, the Holy Catholic Church, from the beginning and all that she ever taught and unchangeably teaches, to the sacraments so long disparaged and disdained, dismissed by the Post-Catholic-Conciliar Church, that brought our true mother to her knees, weeping for her children. Francis will certainly one day be no more, and so will his successors. But our Holy Mother, the Church, that St. Augustine praised as ever ancient, ever new, remains imperishable and ever will. Let us then cleave to her, whose breath is eternity, all the more closely in these dark and evil days. May the grace of God be upon us. God keep you.